Hi friends, if you are looking to invest in ELSS mutual funds, or if you want to know what are these tax saving mutual funds called ELSS that allow you tax deduction under section 80C, well, in this video, that's what we are going to look at it, and we are also going to invest in an ELSS fund to see the process. ELSS means equity linked savings scheme. These are mutual funds that you can buy to save tax because it allows you tax deduction under section 80C of income tax, which means that if you invest the entire 1.5 lakhs that is allotted under this deduction in tax, you can save over 45,000 in taxes immediately when you invest. But of course, this applies for people in the highest tax bracket. Depending on your tax bracket and what your financial planner tells you, the figure for you may be different. Now, ELSS is a popular way of using ATC, but it is not the only way. There are other mechanisms like PPF where you can invest the same amount and get that deduction. ELSS happens to be one of the ways. The reason I have seen people use ELSS is because they want exposure and they want the high risk, high return which equity gives them. So by all means, this is a risk investment because you are investing in equity. Now, I have opened an account in Dhan and I have logged into my account to invest in ELSS funds today because Dhan allows me to buy direct mutual funds which gives higher returns and there are no commissions unlike regular mutual funds. So that's the reason I'm here and I am looking at buying a ELSS fund today. Within the Dhan app, I will look at the mutual funds section to find ELSS funds. And within mutual funds, I have live markets over here. I have a snapshot of my portfolio here. There are certain options over here like high returns index, liquid funds. But I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to come to something called categories. Now, there are 4 categories here: equities, tax saver, hybrid, and debt. Now, I can see tax saver over here, which is basically ELSS funds. So the moment I enter the tax saver section, you can see the funds listed over here either have ELSS in the name or they have long-term equity listed over here, which says that this is a tax saver fund, which is basically an ELSS fund. Now, by default, this is sorted by the highest returns. And you can go and research all of these funds, look at the fund manager, look at their composition, look at their strategy, analyze their past returns, scrutinize it, or consult your certified financial planner and work with them to choose the right funds for you and even decide if you should be buying ELSS in the first place. Now, I'm going to randomly pick one of these funds and look at it. So it shows me the return of this fund compared to Nifty 50. It shows me the ratings given by various research agencies to this fund. If I scroll down further, the most important segment for me is scheme snapshot. What this tells me is that what is the minimum lump sum investment, which is a one-time investment, and what is the minimum SIP amount, what is the total AUM of this fund, and importantly, what is the expense ratio, which is just over 1%. Now, one thing we should know is that ELSS funds are locked for 3 years, which means if I invest in an ELSS fund today, my investments will be locked for 3 years and I can only sell them after 3 years. Now, a lot of people wonder if you do a SIP in an ELSS fund, how will your lock-in work? So, for example, you start your SIP in April and you go all the way till next year, March. Now, every month, the SIP that you do, from the date of that SIP, that unit which is allotted to you is locked for 3 years. So you will be able to sell only that much after 3 years. And then a month later, 3 years later, you'll be able to sell the next one and so on. So each tranche or each investment is locked separately as units. Now, if I want to buy this fund, if I'm happy with it, there is an invest now button over here. And there are 2 options that I get. One is to start a SIP in it to put a fixed amount either monthly or weekly. And I can then plan my tax saving investments for the whole year, or I can do a one-time investment. I have a detailed video on how to do SIP, but let's look at a one-time investment on ELSS. I will select an amount, say for example, 2000 rupees, and I'm going to invest this 2000 rupees as a one-time or lump sum investment by clicking invest now. Now remember, when I opened my Dhan account, I linked my bank account as well. So the PAN card, the Aadhaar and the bank account all belong to the same person, and all of this has to be the same. So I have to pay this amount from my own bank account that is linked with Dhan, which is extremely important. So just keep that in mind. Now to proceed ahead, I have to enter the OTP which Dhan has sent to my mobile number, sure. And then I have three options to invest. One is auto pay, which we had seen in our SIP video on how to set up mandates and how to have auto debit from your bank, which I hope if you see my SIP video you will learn. The other option is net banking and UPI. Since this is a small amount, I will enter the UPI ID linked to this bank account of mine, and via this UPI ID I will make the payment for 2000 rupees and click on make investment. So my UPI app will now give me an option to invest this 2000 rupees. I have approved the transfer from my UPI app, and you can see that this order has been placed. Now, one important factor that you need to keep in mind. For example, if I go to home, you will notice that the markets are down today. A lot of people I have seen obsess over investing in the market on the same day when the markets have fallen. While I don't have any investment advice for you on this being a good strategy, what I can tell you that if you are looking to get the price which is prevalent today or which will be prevalent at the end of the day today, there is something called a cutoff period which you need to have in mind. So if you're investing in mutual funds, you need to invest before a certain time. As my own practice, I do it before 12 noon if I want the same day's NAV. But Dhan publishes its own cutoff times for different kinds of funds, and I'll give you a link for that in description. So do check out the cutoff time to see what is the time before which you need to invest to get today's price. Generally, when you buy a mutual fund, you will notice that at the end of the day, mutual funds publish NAV, which is the price of that particular fund, and you get units in the next 2 days. But to get today's NAV, you need to invest before today's cutoff time, and your payment needs to go to the mutual fund house. Now, that being said, you may be wondering what are the charges for this. See, mutual funds do not charge you separately. When they are calculating their returns, they automatically deduct their expenses from the AUM that you have invested or the AUM that they have with them. So on a daily basis, a small amount. So if 1% is their annual charge, 1% divided by 365 is what they will daily deduct from the fund, and then returns are added on top of it as well. So you don't pay anything extra from your pocket. Neither does Dhan charge you anything extra for this one-time investment or SIP that you are doing. So there are no specific charges that I have over here to report for you on how this investment process works. Now, if you are investing in ELSS funds and have any questions for me, do drop me a comment below. Do remember, you should work with your certified financial planner or work with an expert to handle your investments. Take care.